So we're talking about what is a writer worth. This is part 2. And as we get into 2000, everything is shifting from the printed word into the web. And of course, things were changing in my life too. We got married in 2002. The next year, we welcomed our daughter. And when it came time to decide who's going to stay home with her, the answer was me, because my wife was making a lot more money at the bank than I was at the office, and certainly more than I would have made if I still had a full-time writing job. But then one night she came home, she woke me up, she shook me and says, hey, you've got to get a job aside from taking care of the baby. And that was going back to work for the weekly newspaper. So I was covering a lot of council meetings. I was covering sports, but it was just calling the coaches on the phone during the week, not really going to cover a football game or a basketball game. So not exactly the sports writing job that I dreamed of when I was a little kid. But even that went by the wayside when my wife noticed that the council clerk in Richfield was retiring. And she says, why don't you go for that job? And I'm like, I never thought of that. So I ended up becoming the council clerk. And that was a lot more money than writing for the paper. So I left that behind again. But I was also writing for the web. I was writing for Courthouse News. And that is a job that lasted for 16 years, covering courts all over the country. Finally, when that job went away, I was able to kind of upgrade to marketing and writing copy for different companies and different lawyers. And also, strangely enough, I got into writing cybersecurity speeches for the federal government. So these last 2 jobs, I was finally able to make a decent wage because I wasn't really doing journalism. I was writing other stuff. I was writing marketing copy. I was writing speeches, not really journalism. So that's the only time that I was able to make a decent wage until 2025. That's when things went up and down, mostly down. My cybersecurity speech writing job got doged out of existence. I got a sports website gig, which was great. I was writing about wrestling. I was writing about the Cleveland Guardians. That was wonderful, but that got cut because they decided to just stick with podcasts instead of writing. But then here's the biggest up and down situation that we could find. I got a job as the editor of an online digital newspaper. So this was writing for a local newspaper again, but I was the editor of the paper and it was online and I was making pretty decent money too. So I'm like, finally, this is it. It took over 3 decades, but this is where I'm supposed to be at this point in my career. I'm the editor of a newspaper. But it turns out that that newspaper wasn't always cracked up to be, because as soon as the election was over, they just threw the newspaper and my job into the trash can. So, after losing 3 writing jobs in 2025, I realized that the writing was on the wall. Pun intended. So, what do I do next? Let's find out. If you're joining me, we can figure out what it's like when you're starting over at 60.